A St. George man has been sentenced to more than 130 years in prison for crimes against children in what a judge called some of the most horrific cases the court has seen. And Congresswoman Celeste Maloy visited a local blood drive, sharing a personal story about her mother and encouraging others to give. Plus, we'll have your full weekend forecast and more coming up.
You're watching St. George News at 5, brought to you by our studio sponsor, We Win Injury Law.
A St. George man has been sentenced to at least 130 years in prison for sexually abusing 2 young children over more than a decade. Crimes a judge described as among the most horrific the court has seen. Here's more from inside the courtroom as the judge handed down the sentence.
He will not take responsibility. He believes that everything is against him, that he did nothing wrong. He has no remorse and no sympathy for the horrible conduct, crimes committed against these 2 young girls.
You are going to prison.
A St. George man convicted of sexually abusing 2 young children has been sentenced to more than a century behind bars. 49-year-old Reyes Miramontes Guzman appeared in 5th District Court this week for sentencing. He was found guilty last month on 8 first-degree felony charges, including 5 counts of aggravated sexual abuse of a child, 2 counts of rape of a child, and 1 count of forcible sodomy. Guzman continues to maintain his innocence, claiming he was wrongly convicted. Seen here with the court interpreter.
I don't think it's fair that just based on someone's memory that I've been found guilty without any
ninguna prueba consistente física o
consistent
cosa.
Material evidence.
Se me hace muy injusto todo eso.
I think all that is very unfair.
Por eso voy a apelar.
That's why I'm going to appeal.
The case dates back to August 2022 when investigators discovered 2 victims, both under the age of 5 when the abuse began. Authorities say the abuse spanned over a decade, first in the Salt Lake City area and later in Washington County. Guzman has been held in jail for more than 3 years, awaiting trial. During Tuesday's sentencing hearing, Guzman's defense attorney, Ken Combs, argued for concurrent sentences.
These actions, at least as found by the jury, occurred over a number of years, but in my opinion, same course of conduct, at least from the words of some of the victims in the case. And so I asked the court to run all these concurrently.
State prosecutor Lane Wood pushed for the maximum penalty.
He believes that he is the victim, that he's the victim of this system, of racism, of the prosecution, of his own defense attorney. Everything conspired against him, and he is the victim in this case. That is not true. In this case, Your Honor, justice will never be complete for these victims. This court cannot undo the trauma that they endured. I've spent a lot of time with them. I know they're both strong. They're both going to be able to heal. They're fighters. They are survivors. They will be able to move on from this. But it is going to take work for them. It will take time. It will be a fight. In this case, justice demands the maximum possible sentence. Justice demands that these counts be run consecutive to ensure that the defendant will spend as long as possible in prison.
District Judge Ryan E. Christiansen did not hold back, ultimately siding with the prosecution.
You stand here showing no remorse, offering no sympathy. I'm going to order that each and every sentence run consecutively. And you are facing 130 years minimum in prison for your crimes. Your crimes are horrific. They were committed against some of the most vulnerable members of our society who were entrusted into your care. Court can't do anything to erase their trauma, but the court can do what it can do to ensure that you will never have access to them or any other young children to abuse them in the same way.
Barring an appeal and with credit for the 3 years he has already served, Guzman will not be eligible for parole until 2152. Congresswoman Celeste Maloy rolled up her sleeve in Enoch to donate blood, sharing how her own mother was saved by transfusions when giving birth decades ago. Jeff Richards shows us how her visit is inspiring others to give during a critical time for blood donations.
U.S. Congresswoman Celeste Maloy stopped by a Red Cross blood drive in Enoch on Thursday. As her blood was being collected, Maloy talked about the importance of such donations.
I got an email from the American Red Cross saying they really needed my blood type, and I try to donate as often as I can. Something my mom started me on when I was 17 because she had several blood transfusions when she had my baby brother. So I've always been a big donator, and they were having a blood drive in Enoch, and I was here, so I came in. I don't know how many times I've donated blood, but I know it's a lot. The best part about donating blood is they have good snacks. Today they have donut holes.
Representative Maloy also weighed in on the ongoing federal government shutdown.
Shutdown ends, so we're all on 48-hour notice in the House. I've spent my time here in Utah out meeting with people, trying to solve problems for constituents that I can take care of while the government's not shutting, or while the government is shut down. I've also tried to be really proactive about putting out information for people who don't know what's open and what's not during the shutdown. So please go to my website. And if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, please sign up for the newsletter, because I'm trying to get a lot of good information out there for people about help for federal employees and what's operating during the shutdown.
Now let's take a look at your weekend weather forecast, brought to you by Casablanca Resort and Casino. In St. George, we'll see mostly sunny skies today with a high of 77 and a low of 48. Saturday brings more sunshine and slightly warmer temperatures with a high of 78 and an overnight low of 54. Sunday will be partly cloudy with a high near 78 and a low around 52. Over in Mesquite, today will be sunny with a high of 77 and a low of 49. Saturday stays clear with a high of 78 and a low of 54. And Sunday will be partly cloudy, topping out at 78 with a low of 52. Cedar City stays cooler with mostly sunny skies today and a high of 62 and a low of 39. Saturday, seeing some clouds with highs near 67 and lows around 45. And Sunday, partly cloudy with a high of 66 and low of 40. More than 1,000 people filled the Dixie Convention Center to honor conservative activist Charlie Kirk, remembered for his faith, conviction, and influence on young Americans before his tragic death last month. Maury Kessler takes us inside the emotional memorial where family, friends, and supporters reflected on his lasting legacy.
More than 1,000 people gathered at the Dixie Convention Center in St. George to honor conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, who was killed last month while speaking at Utah Valley University. The memorial brought together students, local leaders, and national figures, and included former Congressman and Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz as the event's keynote speaker. Chaffetz, who witnessed the shooting, told the crowd that Kirk's courage and conviction left a mark on everyone who knew him.
The amazing thing about Charlie Kirk is he wasn't a politician. He didn't get elected. He was a man with a vision and a message. You said, bring it on, ask me anything, and let's talk about it. That was the magic of what Charlie was saying.
He said President Donald Trump called him later that night, with the president saying he didn't know if he would have been reelected without Kirk's help and influence. Along with Chaffetz, the speakers praised Kirk's faith and his ability to inspire young conservatives to speak up for their beliefs. They added that the best way to honor Kirk is to keep that mission alive through faith, courage, and freedom for the next generation.
Hayden Zablotny made history as a rookie, winning the 19th Red Bull Rampage in Virgin with a daring second run that scored 96, thrilling fans and his family who traveled from Canada to watch. Eric George Gould takes us to the finish line to see the emotions and family celebrations after Zablotny's unforgettable triumph.
Here are sights and sounds from 22-year-old Canadian rider Hayden Zablonski's winning ride at the 19th Red Bull Rampage, courtesy of Red Bull Content Pool Videos.
Super clean in the big unk shoot. Oh! Spins that one. We didn't see that in run one. The Steez is still there. This is the moment of truth. It's this step down here. This is also a crazy thing coming up. Slowing down.
Oh,
flat.
Nailed
it! He pulled for that so early, Cam. That was crazy.
So early. All right, hit the brakes. Yeah, Hayden!
Waiting at the finish line was Hayden Zablonski's family, father Pete, mother Laura, and sister Lena, who told St. George News all about the joy of seeing Hayden finish the race.
His goal was to not take any risks and just ride like he knows how to ride and put down a run, a safe, conservative run, and just finish so that he can show them that he deserved to come back.
To be honest, the desperation came to him after he missed that first run. That put him up. That made him upgrade himself. It just changed everything.
He performed so well under pressure too.
Yeah.
This is Eric George Gould reporting from the Red Bull Rampage in Virgin for St. George News.
Thank you for watching St. George News at 5. To learn more about our studio sponsor, We Win Injury Law, go to wewininjurylaw.com. I'm Monica McLaughlin with St. George News, your #1 source for local news.
This has been St. George News at 5, brought to you by We Win Injury Law.